Hey everyone, I hope you're having a good day wherever this finds you, wherever you are. Today we're going to talk about the WorkSharp guided field sharpener. This is a handy little sharpener, very packable, very well designed. I've been using this, I think I've had it for over a year, close to that if not over. And we're going to go through it. I'm going to show you how to sharpen a knife with it. We'll talk about pruners, even axes, and I'm going to show you something that I have not seen anybody else talk about regarding the sharpener. So stick around. I'm out in the field right now, so to speak, at the Oregon coast, but I think this also makes an excellent sharpener for the homesteader, and you'll see why as we get into it. All right, let's talk real briefly about what you get in this little package. On one side here we have a coarse diamond grit. Here we have a medium diamond grit. Then we have a ceramic honing rod that rotates via this little dial. So that includes a coarse ceramic, which is serrated. It's kind of hard to see probably. Then you rotate this around and you've got your fine ceramic, and it also includes a fishhook groove, which I cannot say that I have tried at this point. There is a small ceramic rod for sharpening serrations, and then on this back side we have a piece of leather so you can strop your blade. On both sides, actually every side, there is a 20-degree ramp so that you can feel what that 20 degrees is like, and then continue it as you sharpen down the surface, right? So every side has it, including the strop side. It's reversed on the strop side, as you can see. All right, so I've got some different cutting implements here. I've got an Opinel knife that we love and sell, a Mora companion, pair of pruners, and an axe. And let's just let's play around with this little guy and see what we can do. Why don't we, just to make this interesting, we'll take our knife and run it on this rock few times and make sure she's nice and dull for you. Pretty dull enough. So we'll start with the coarse grit here. Lay the knife on the guide ramp, and just run it as you would a sharpening stone. I'm going to run 5 times on each side for starters here. Still got some more burr raising to do. It's got a nice little handhold there for your thumb. And something that I appreciate about the guides is, as opposed to sort of a fixed guide sharpener like a pull through, which is very limiting, even though this does offer you these ramps to help you set your angle, you still have some versatility in how you use this. Part of that is because simply you could just bypass the guides and start your sharpening here, as I would if I was using this Mora knife, because the Mora knife has the Scandinavian grind, right, that's a lot wider than the bevel on this Opinel. You wouldn't want to use the ramp. It's going to create a micro bevel that you might not want to do unless you want to do that. But so in the case of the Mora, you know, just sharpening it as a typical Scandi grind, you can. It's quite a short surface, and it's going to take longer, and you're going to have to pull sort of across the stone more quickly, so you can, or work in sections. You know, you could sharpen that first half of the blade on one pass, and then start more toward the belly, and you know, get your tip afterward. But I really appreciate that about this sharpener, that even though it has these guides, you can still sort of use it with more flexibility, so to speak. On top of that, these plates come off, and that's good for one reason, and that is that these are replaceable, so if they ever did wear out, you can get a replacement. But it's also really nice because you can take it off and use it freehand. And so that's you know, how I would sharpen my axe, just holding this freehand. And you know, it's a little thin, right, compared to say a puck that's pretty typical for sharpening axes, or a stone, but it certainly works. Certainly works. And another great benefit that I did not realize, and this is partly why I think this is such a great tool for the homesteader, is this is so thin that you can sharpen your pruners easily without taking them apart. So you can see we can touch up our edge. So really, really versatile in that regard. Let's get back to sharpening this Opinel so you can see sort of a result with this tool. Feeling a burr on that side finally. The only complaint I have about this sharpener, and this is maybe somewhat typical with sharpeners, is that it's very difficult to get the very back side of the blade, the very heel, I guess you would call it, of the blade, right where my finger is. I can't, because of either the strop on this side or the ceramic rod on this side, I can't get the blade all the way, the back side, this point of the blade, all the way flush with the stone. So it is a small complaint, but that is one thing that I don't like about the sharpener. Okay. All right, let's switch up to the medium diamond grit. My blade is kind of dirty, making it sort of hard for me to feel for the burr, because I don't know, I'm kind of distracted by all the gunk I feel on the blade. There's no, I mean, the cutting edge is clean now, but probably would have been good to clean this before. Just wipe it down. So just trying to do similar number of passes on each side, you know, as you would with normal sharpening. This is normal sharpening, isn't it? Just in the field. And just keep continuing to feel for a burr. That burr is pretty critical in letting me know that I've actually reached the cutting edge. Typically what I like to do after I have raised a burr on both sides, I'll continue with that grit and just lessening my strokes on either side. So I'll do 3 on this side. I've been doing sort of 5 to 6, and we'll do 3 here, and 2, 2. Light downward pressure, really. Mostly just letting the stone do the work. One thing I like about guides like this is it still allows you the opportunity to practice sort of what it feels like to do something freehand. You know, so much of sharpening is sort of muscle memory and knowing what that consistent angle feels like. And so having the guides kind of allows you to practice that freehand with sort of the training wheel, but also sort of develop that muscle memory. So I think it's actually a great way to build up into totally freehand sharpening. So we'll move on to the ceramic rod now. I have this on the C for coarse, and we'll just continue as we would. This has guides here as well. Start to move up into some of the honing or polishing stage, less metal removal. You can feel there's a kind of maybe a nick in the honing rod itself, so I probably need to clean that or check that out. I just rotated it a little bit to find a smoother part. Okay, I'm going to rotate this around to the smooth ceramic rod. And then last but not least, little strop. And then again, you use a strop, you work backwards. And so they put the ramp going the other way so that you can line up your 20 degrees and then give it a strop. I feel like they put a lot of thought into this and really executed it nicely. I mean, you see how small it is. It's about the size of the knife. It's a little bit shorter. You know, I've used a number of different possible solutions to the issue of field sharpening. Mostly the diamond, the DMT paddle sharpeners, just the small the ones. Fit. Those are nice. They fit in your pocket or your pack. I've used Spyderco's really small, thin ceramic stones, which are also pretty nice, but nothing includes so much in such a small package that I've used. You know, the fact that you get 2 diamond grits, ceramic, 2 ceramic, 3 if you count the fish hook, which I've never used, and then the addition of the serrated hone, and then the strop. It's like complete sharpening package basically in this small little unit. And the fact that these, as I mentioned, these pop off, the diamond hones, and I'll show you in just a minute how the ceramic hone will pop off, really makes this a versatile tool. I think we did okay here. Let's see. Feel a little bit of a burr on that one side. Let's see what the paper has to say to us about how we did. Yeah, so you see? It came out good. Sometimes it's a bit of a never know till you try kind of thing, for me anyway, especially if I'm having trouble feeling the burr. But I'd say that that is very successful considering we started out by a little bit of a dull spot there. We started out by running this on a rock. Definitely pleased with that. So, you can see that it gets the job done. So what I wanted to show you that I have not seen anywhere else is the fact that you can take out this ceramic hone. It's pretty obvious that you can take these off, though I haven't seen too many people talk about how you could, use them freehand, but I think that that would come to you pretty naturally. Is you pop off one side and there is a little compartment in here. You could store a little bit of honing compound in there for your to load up your strop if you wanted, but at this moment I have a small nail in here, and the reason I have that is because here, just by the rotating, the handle for rotating the ceramic rod is a pin, and if we take our nail, we can remove said pin. I'm going to stick that back inside the little compartment for safekeeping, and then look what we can do. We can pull out the rod. Now, again, I think it's awesome that Worksharp built in the fact that you might want to replace this someday, and they do sell these components on their site. So I think that's really groovy. But again, taking this out allows me to use this freehand. So as I showed you before, we could take this off and touch up our axe with it. But maybe we want to go a little farther, or is it further? And we can use the ceramic hone to really touch up that edge, right? Love it. Same thing for our pruners. Unless you goof up, most pruners don't get so dull that they require the coarsest grit. And maybe you would start with the medium diamond, but then you would pretty quickly want to move up to the ceramic. Pruners, it's nice to have them fairly sharp for clean cuts. I mean, really anything, but I think it's important if you're pruning. So same thing again, we can use our honing rod, and it also is small enough. It's a little tricky to get the very, very base there because this counter blade kind of gets in the way, but I would say that it's certainly adequate just to touch up that cutting edge, and then we can flip it over, hold the honing rod flat, and wipe away any burr that we may have formed. Yeah, it's pretty toothy. Pretty feels good. Wants to bite. And then to go back into sharpening mode, knife sharpening mode, slide her back in. Snaps in like that. Grab our pin out. And away we go. So that sums up the WorkSharp guided field sharpener. Really well engineered, well made tool. I'm really impressed with it, especially with the ability to remove these 3 sides. You can also replace the strop. They do sell replacement strops. Of course, you could probably make your own as well. But again, I appreciate that in a product where they build in repair and replacement as opposed to disposal. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave us a thumbs up below. It really does help. Or if you like these kind of videos, the gear reviews, and also we've got some how-to videos that are more garden tool related, click the subscribe button down below. Maybe I'll figure out how to put a little something right here that says subscribe. It really does help us out a lot, and we really appreciate it over here. I am going to spend the rest of this day at the beautiful, foggy, and kind of cold Oregon coast. It's August 7th, and today is my birthday. And so I thought it would be fun, if you have watched it this far, if you can guess my age, I will send you a brand new Opinel folding knife. How old am I today? It's August 7th. I thought I would do this maybe for 3 or 4 months, depending on how many people actually even guess or get it right. So no, let's just say till the end of the year. The end of 2017, we're gonna run this little challenge. Guess my age. I'll give you a hint. I was born in the 80s. And leave it in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.